Hi everyone, this is Sunny and I will be doing Saturn in the 12th house today. I hope you guys have been watching the rest of my Saturn placement series. Um, this is the final transit, so I hope you guys enjoy. I still have one more video, I believe, and it's just basically the outro. But I hope you guys enjoy the interpretation from my analysis. So if you guys have Saturn in Pisces or Saturn in the 12th house, it restricts the unseen and brings you down to earth to focus on the physical plane. It creates obstacles when it comes to spirituality. It may touch slightly on the restricting the belief in faith. That is more of a 9th house issue, as well as Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. It's the practice of spirituality, more so being restricted here and how you approach it. So not everyone will experience this, but those that do will have problems feeling hopeful or wanting to believe that there is a higher force looking out for them, because things are pretty heavy and the Piscean nature has difficulty to have the right keys to stay grounded in the physical body as is. So having Saturn in this house, in my opinion, gives accountability to the individual, which therefore aids them to seek purpose and truth in the divine, and having that is quite helpful. It brings them that earthy nature, if you ask me, but that's just my opinion. The father was likely absent in the childhood, and he could have also passed on before your birth or early on in childhood. The father could have also been on the older side, or someone who had the spirit of an older wise person. Or on the other hand, you could have had the father who was suffering greatly with mental illness, and would gaslight you, or have health issues, low energy, or was a bit of a wandering soul who drifted as he pleased. You could have seen him you could have seen him encompassing both sides of the coin, where he was kind and compassionate and wanting to help others, but he couldn't quite help himself, which could have soured him and he could have taken it out on you by being dismissive of your emotions or giving you that cold shoulder when you didn't side with him. So it still kind of gives you that Saturnian energy. He could have enjoyed having the rose-colored glasses on and didn't wish for others to remove them from him. His disconnect with the world could have led him to addictive behaviors where he escaped through substances, alcohol, or psychedelic inducing materials. Sometimes those addictive behaviors are not necessarily the only form of escapism and addiction. There could have been the chance where the feel good vibes were given instant gratification by consuming excess in food, or maybe sweets, shopping, hoarding items, or through religious spiritual activities, giving to those in need constantly, rescuing others who needed help like animals or the homeless, or through the arts, involving themselves so deeply they forget that the physical body needs attending to, and the constantly giving yourself away would lead them to their demise. This could also explain why you could have or still have some aversions to wanting to resonate with your father figure, or if you do resonate, there could be some periods in time where you could see yourself and hold on, where did I stay off? Where was I? Where you yourself add the rose-colored glasses on and glorify the giving nature in him, the selflessness, the lost artist. And you may not always appreciate when someone comments on this and you push them away because you don't want to critique that version that you sort of dream of or dreamt of. Or you may also criticize this yourself and still love him as he was, because you feel the restrictive bond you had with them because you took care of them, or being around them felt like work because you had to watch over them like a child. You could have had those roles reversed, where you were almost like the parental figure caring for them, seeing that they didn't get hurt or they didn't get taken advantage of. For example, his delusions and sensitivity to his surroundings could have been overwhelming to you, that you just cocoon yourself to protect yourself from the projection that he placed on you for not having control over himself. Another scenario that could have played is that the father figure was always sick or in hospital, so you took care care of him, or hardly saw him because he was in jail. The father was away for long periods of time if he was in your life is another possibility. Or if it's not the father, some people may have the mother role, but again, it's just that authoritative. There you go. The authoritative. I can't say that. Authoritative. There you go. Presence in your life is more or less the person. That's Saturnian energy. Your return would bring up similar themes you consistently had to deal with growing up. So you get out of that karmic contract holding you down. You could also be called on to heal that connection with your father, or at least to cut the toxic cord with him if it's needed, so you allow yourself to be free from forcing yourself to look after someone who isn't looking after you. It may take a long time as both planets are outer generational slow-moving planets, but you will do it. So it can be very emotionally messy and draining, but it is doable. So you could also have been in this transit, or you will be, or are experiencing this up to this point. You could also be artistically stifled during this period for the lack of creativity of sources outside of yourself. If it's not relating to your body being weak and stopping yourself from expressing yourself, that creativity flow is just struggling in there, and I think that you're going to kind of notice that. And maybe after your return it might ease up a bit because you have more control over your imagination, your dreams. You're not like in this, not saying that you will, but some people might have those maladaptive daydreaming periods. So that's just one good example of some. Not everyone will experience this, but you get the gist. I also think that I think that you could have certain chronic health issues relating to your immune system not working the way it should. I think you could deal with it from time to time during your life, but it's more relevant and prominent during this time period. You could see that you're not being very well grounded. Your mental health can suffer. You could have poor energy, and you can also have allergies due to many things like seasonal allergies or food allergies, weird mysterious stuff that goes undiagnosed or hard to diagnose, if that makes sense. It can be something that gets triggered during this time frame, or some people can suffer through autoimmune disorders. I think you start noticing some things make more sense throughout your life during this period, but it's still going to be, truthfully, most of the time when you have to deal with your health, and it's Pisces related, it tends to be very confusing and watered down. The issues at hand are not always what's the right diagnosis, if that makes sense. So hang in there. It can be a little bit daunting when it comes to your health because it's something you're going to struggle with seeing, because it's the unseen, it's the hidden, it's Piscean, it's Neptune energy. So you could also some people may have certain substance addictions during this time, and you're going to notice that a lot more. And when you see that, you're going to have to be realistic with yourself and crawl up onto the table to realize that Saturn wants you to stop these self-destructive behaviors, and only you can do that yourself. Nobody else will. So you're going to have to kind of give yourself that time out. You can also be dealing with authority figures during this time. So your authority, this is a house of secret enemies, so those that are in authority and establishments like hospitals, jails, mental health facilities, libraries, emergency centers, etc., people like in the spiritual communities, like the leaders and advisors, can become your enemies during this time frame that you weren't aware of because they were working against you all this time. But this is just for some people, but you can kind of notice that more people kind of start to pop out that are kind of working against you, but sometimes it's there to teach you a lesson that you have to take accountability. You could also be wanting to talk to authority figures, more attracting them more, or wanting to speak to older, mature people. That's very Saturnian as well. You could also experience more paranormal events like seeing entities and ghosts. That's there, but it's not quite there. It's just some possibilities only you can decipher, but it can be there. Paranormal, not so much like the 8th house. I think it's a little bit more darker tones, but more so the people who have passed on, or like residual ghosts or energies that are around certain places. You can be very attracted to that, or people like just you're just like a sponge during this time frame. You could also have issues sleeping. Saturn kind of delays that, so sleeping. Pisces love that Neptune energy, love sleeping, so you could struggle with sleeping habits or having poor sleep or not enough sleep deprivation. And you could also experience yourself having a hard time in believing that something out there is protecting you, because things can go south for you and you're feeling helpless and defenseless, and you're going to have to practice routinely spiritual or religious practices every day. And it could feel like work, but it could help maintain your mental health in the long run and give you good practicality uses for your everyday life. So you need that structure in this placement, and it's necessary. It might be slow, but you'll kind of get the hang of it eventually. But it's something that's going to be brought to your attention consistently during this time frame. And learning to let go of self-destructive habits as well, and allowing endings to occur. That's something that you're going to struggle, and it's hard, it's difficult, but learning to let go of people, of your habits, of everything that you've taken so much control over, or at least escape to, it's something that you have to learn with. Allow yourself to remove that filter off your eyes and experience disillusionment, so you can learn to use that as fuel and motivate, and use that motivation to get past that obstacle and turn a new leaf. Overall, your return is going to ground you and give you a wake-up call, so that you should not forget to live in the present moment and not in the lines where death meets the spirit world. After all, your body's still here, and there's much you can still do to better the quality of your life. And facing your fears by confronting them head on, you could also experience a lot of fears. Fear of living, being scared to live. It's scary, and you've struggled with that for most of your life, if not during this transit only. And taking an accountability about what you have or haven't done for your body is also important. Keeping your faith afloat by doing consistent small actions that help develop that rich internal life, and learning to let go of outcomes that can help you get to the places that you need to be. Despite its harshness and isolation, answers can be discovered in your isolation from the world, like finding yourself in the midst of all your pain. So this is really a placement that wants you to heal from the inside out. So don't allow it to condemn you to a lifetime of sorrow. Allow it to heal yourself. So again, with this placement, be very careful. You're going to use a lot of discernment during this transit, and it's necessary because you could fuel most of the time your delusions, for those that do, that are not healthy or not productive, at least, to live in your day-to-day life. Your body will be weak. You could experience isolation in certain places like jail or like mental hospitals. And during this time when you are alone, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to find yourself in a place where only you can hear your voice, and that's the only voice that should matter during this time. So listening to yourself, listening to your body, figuring out what's really going on deep inside is going to allow you to be productive. Don't lose faith, and don't struggle when it's just an obstacle that you have to go over. So I do think that a lot of your issues can also stem from that father authority figure in your life, and what they weren't, right? So you will have to step up to the plate and be that authority figure in your life to kind of get yourself into a good direction. Even though it's not always something that we want to do, it's something that is necessary and we have to hear. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interpretation of Saturn in the 12th house. Please comment if you feel like it resonated. And again, this is just one interpretation. It's my analysis. It's my opinion. It does not mean that it's set in stone. This is just one of the many possibilities and aspects that you can see throughout the house and what it entails when it comes to Saturn and Neptune and slightly Jupiter. But again, take that with a grain of salt. You're more than also welcome to hear my 9th house, since that's also Jupiter, interpretation. And thank you all for listening. Have a lovely day. So bye-bye, everybody.